Oh, we've had a fun way from the, not in the centre of St Albans anymore, so he's had to move out for a while. Top secret, can't tell you why. Jake Ellacott it is, waving his digit around. Good evening, Jake.
Evening, Dave. Evening, everyone.
And a good evening to Lee, and it says there, Ember Designs.
He's moved to the rough part of town, hasn't he?
Yeah. Wasn't before.
Sort of, well, no, but it's the sort of place you sort of wipe your feet on the way out now. It's that's how bad it is, Jake. To be fair, mate, I'm surprised you're still here.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Thank you.
He's stolen his hair. Right.
He's gone straight in. He's gone straight in, Jake. He's gone straight in with the hair jokes, mate. Unbelievable. Have you upset him?
I beat you by seconds, Lee. Right, a couple of games to look back on. One is a joyous occasion because if you ignore the playoff win over Histon, it was our 200th win in Conference South, National League South, whatever you want to call it. So it's a joyous occasion. And we're talking about the match down at Havant Waterlooville last Saturday. We're recording this on Thursday, the 10th of February. Last Saturday, the 5th, 1-0 win down at Westleigh Park. It's a good result because Havant were expected to be up there, but they're not. They're having a dreadful season. What do you make of it, Jake?
Yeah, as you say, they have had a very poor season, given the money they've spent. I mean, in the days beforehand, they signed Stefan Payne, a few other, Alfie Whittingham, all players from the leagues above on loan. And I mean, it was relative comfort, wasn't it? You know, the Saints, we have to say, the Saints defended really well on the day. I think partly because haven't played into us with their long ball tactics and their hoof ball, and it's pretty comfortable in the end, but defended well. Michael Johnson made some good saves, but it was just almost a perfect away performance. Take the goal and just defend for your lives. And that's what we did. And it was a good win. But as you say, it's against a team that a lot of people will think are difficult to beat this season, but in reality, they aren't looking good.
I got shouted down by those around me, obviously know nothing about football, because I thought I haven't played more football than they did down the park, and they looked a better side on Saturday. And they dominated the game, Joe. There's no two ways about it. But we did defend superbly, and they had 2 or 3 chances. He missed one early on, or was it late on, whenever it was. Had they got that, it could have been a different game. But we did defend really well, which was kind of nice to see, following on from recent defensive performances as well.
It was, and it was another clean sheet, wasn't it? You know, 2 on the bounce and that positivity of building. But, you know, the Saints fan travelled down there, and it wasn't the most amazing game to watch on the eye, I didn't think. But when you talked about having dominating a lot of the game, but when you've got the players they have in their squad, they should be, you know, and they've got a manager, Paul Doswell, he's got experience at this level. You know, they used to play on that 3G pitch as well. They should be dominating games. But, you know, a good win. Shaun Jeffers, again, taking his goal well, and a perfect 3 points on the road.
Yeah, we extended their winless home run to 8 games. Dartford in midweek took it to 9 games. They've only won twice at home. It doesn't make any sense at all, does it? Did you watch your highlights, Lee? I can't imagine there were too many.
Have faith, David. Have faith. Yeah, it was a handy result, mate. I'm not entirely sure too many people thought we would come away with a win. But that said, you know, you can only beat what's in front of you. But what was in front of us was a really, on paper, a talented squad of players. And as you say, they lost again in the week. And Paul Doswell's gotten to get a bit twitchy there because they expect better. If you think that the R run is bad, imagine being a Havant fan and, you know, having to endure what they're having to sort of to go through there. But, you know, really well defended, staunch stuff. It's the sort of display you almost anticipate us putting in away from home from time to time, and the lads deserve full credit for that 3-0. Sorry, for the 3 points.
Their match report implied it was their best performance for a little while, and you went in the bar after the game, Jake, probably during most of it as well, and their supporters seemed to back that up as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they were almost quite happy with their result. Well, not result, sorry, with the performance. I think the result, obviously, they were disappointed with, but they seemed to just be happy with sort of how solid they looked and, you know, how much of the ball they had. And, you know, they did look solid at times, but it's no use if you're not going to provide anything up front. And again, that team, you know, the players they've got in, the strikers they've got is, you know, we talk about, you know, oh, we need a striker. We've only got Shaun Jeffers, only one. they've got a handful of them, and none of them seem to be able to score at the minute. So I think I'd rather be in our position, if I'm honest. But yeah, it was a funny old place, you know, just a sense or just almost acceptance, wasn't there, Dave? Sort of about the game, you know, just going along with it.
The fans are starting to lose face. They have their second lowest gate of the season, despite it being not far short of 1,000. I think that's not going to pick up after the midweek defeat either. It's when we talk about our defensive strength and their frailties, despite bringing in, as Lee mentioned, those 3 new players towards the end of the weekend on the day of the game. But what was there of us in attack? There was nothing.
No.
I'll tell you one thing that that I noticed was mistakes from individuals as well on our behalf. Bailey Brown surging forward at one point, tried to do a little Cruyff turn, got dispossessed, and 10 seconds later, they've got a shot in on goal. You know, and if Ian had any hair left, that'd be torn out straight away, because that is the sort of individual errors that he was referring to, you know, post-Christmas, about just that's costing us games. Luckily, it didn't cost us on this occasion, but still, why is Bailey Brown that far up the pitch anyway? Why is he trying to do a Cruyff turn? And, you know, just simple balls in that possession as well, you know, but luckily it didn't cost us this time around.
In defence of Bailey Lee, it is gangly. It is ungainly, and you wonder how on earth he's surviving, but he is to a degree. He actually had a decent game, I thought, Saturday, Jake, didn't he? He was effective rather than setting the game alight.
Yeah, he broke up play, didn't he? You know, he did his job, and that's what you're into. I think Lee touched a point. I think we talked about this same point, the Hemel home game. And Bailey Brown started so far forward, and he just looked totally unnatural. He does get to a certain position on the pitch, and it starts to look a bit worrying. But you talk about going forward, Dave. You know, the goal itself was a really good passing move, really nice, fluid football. Apart from that, there wasn't much, was there? Mitchell Weiss again putting a good shift along with Johnson. Not Johnson, Jeffers. But apart from that, wasn't much. But did we need much? Probably not, no, because it was such a tight game that one goal was always going to, you know, send it either way. And it fell to us. And, you know, I think I also want to mention Cameron Green came in for his first start, as we predicted last Thursday. And he looked good on the left of defence. Thought he played well there.
Yes, and Tom being back he was in middle, wasn't he?
Yes.
It's his best position, and he looked decent there. We shan't mention, well, we will get on to Tuesday night in a while, but that's a different game. It was a needed win, wasn't it? Silence on doubters. There's 3 sitting here, I think. We desperately needed it.
We desperately did, but what I liked about it was, and I've mentioned this a few times to a few people, was we battled for it. We fought for it. It's what you want to see at the end of the day. It was a you know, go all the way down there, pick up 3 points in front of a decent travelling support as well at the end, and you just fight for the badge. And that's all fans want to see. Just put your heart into it and go at it. And the Saints did that on Saturday. It might not have been beautiful. The football might not have been great from the Saints, but it got 3 points.
But mate, those sorts of wins, they're so much sweeter than the massive wins we have, you know, because it just means that touch more, especially away from home as well, you know. And the lads played well, and they did enough to get the 3 points. So you can't ask any more from them from that.
Yeah, and 2 straight wins and 3 clean sheets in 4 games. Everything's looking rosy.
Yeah, and we did talk about last Thursday on the pod how important a win it would be for a top 7, sort of looking at that, because it would open up the gap on a side like Havant. So, you know, coming back home on Saturday, it felt pretty much perfect.
I've got to get rid of this blooming thing. Do you remember when I wore this on the gantries, Jake? It could fit a family of 6 in here, but it's just because it's so cold in there, I put it on. It is absolutely hideous. It's to get the viewing figures up. Right.
Have we got any?
I'll file that away. Right. So that's Saturday, but I think we're going to come back to that for a reason in a minute. We've then had another game on Tuesday. If we'd won, we'd been, a point behind Ebbsfleet, a couple of games in hand. We'd have been sitting very pretty in the playoff places.
If
if indeed it went badly wrong, one down early on, I mentioned Tom Bender, his mistake started it. The own goal went against Bailey Brown. Look at it on the video, what do they call it thing? I'm not sure who got it, but we never recovered from that start, did we, Jake?
No, it almost felt surreal that he stood in the corner, opposite end of the ground, thinking, oh, 1-0, bit early. Oh, we've got a chance. 2-0 after 11 minutes. This isn't looking good, is it? And then the rest of the game, it felt like the slowest match I've ever been to. It was like torture. And I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that at times it feels like we've got a Jekyll and Hyde team with Jekyll and Hyde performances. How can I genuinely do not understand, I don't think anyone does, how Saturday's performance, fighting, battling, to Tuesday night. Sure, they might be tired, other excuses, but it was just, I couldn't believe what was in front of my eyes. And to be 4-0 down at half time, I mean, it's just totally sort of unacceptable, wasn't it? And immediately after, I was very annoyed, but now it's just so disappointing because, as you say, Dave, great opportunity, just avoid defeat, lads. Just pick up a point on the road, but to totally roll over like that, just unbelievable.
Gravesend, what are they called nowadays? I can't remember. They've not been on a good run, funny enough. And goals have not been easy for them to come by. I could read this blooming thing here. They'd had 1 goal in the last 3 games leading up to it. They'd had thrashings, you alluded to it last week, Jake, against Dorking and Maidstone. And yet they beat us by 5 in the second half towards the end. They could have got a few more. We just surrendered. But there was a comment apparently on the radio down there, their local radio, not ours. No pace, no commitment. And I'm afraid it's spot on, wasn't it?
It's the hope that's going to kill you, fellas. It's the hope that's going to kill you. I actually listened to it because I had to work. So I listened to it on BBC Radio Kent and then watched the highlights subsequently. That was a sensory overload, and not in a good way either. To listen to it was devastating enough. Consistency is a key factor in all sort of successful sides. And at the minute, we just can't get a run going. And I see some supporters who are trying to stick up for the club after the result on social media. Yes, we appreciate we're going to lose games, but we expect to be competitive in football matches. We expect to have a certain level of application in football matches. We don't expect our players to roll over and have our tummy tickled after going down 2-0. I think Ian's post-match was very telling because he said something really, really interesting. He said, we did not have the personnel to change the game. Now, look into that whatever you will, but that smacks volumes, whether that's a subliminal message to the owners or whether he's just telling the God's honest truth. But also, he said he's got no time for us to feel sorry for. No, we haven't got time to feel sorry for ourselves. We can do that in May when we're mid-table and we're out the playoffs, because at the minute, that's the way it's going to go. It's almost 1 step forward, 5 or 6 back at the minute. Now, if he hasn't got the players at his disposal to have 2 consistent performances in a week, then something needs to be addressed there, because I feel sorry for the supporters who went down there. I honestly do. It was bad enough listening to the dross on the radio. So I don't know how the game unfolded other than what I've listened to and what I've seen on the highlights, but something has to sort of change. And I think now it's getting to a stage where it's really bugging Ian. And he's maybe sending a few sort of pot shots in the post-match, maybe.
It's interesting you said about fans there, Lee. I thought we had more there than we did on Saturday down at Havant. And you said about following the game. You followed it on the radio. I looked at our Twitter feed when I got back, and it doesn't portray the match at all. There's no emphasis that we were being overrun in the way that we were. We just weren't competing. It doesn't come across in Twitter. He's made no attempt to bring that across. And in the interview at the end, he said, whoever it was, disappointing evening, Ian, something along those lines. And you think, oh, for God's sake. And then he said, it didn't feel like a 5-0. No, it felt like about an 8-0. You wonder if there is any honesty in the club and they really realise what is going on the pitch. We've been banging on for months about strengthening that squad. You look at that bench Tuesday and even on Saturday, there was nothing there that was going to turn a game if it needed turning. And Tuesday it needed turning. There were times in that second half when we did attack and we got down the wings, but we find a defender in front of us. So what do? What we always do. We went backwards. We were desperate to get a goal back or something to make it more decent looking. We didn't. We just surrendered. Does that coincide with what you saw, Jake?
Yeah, it felt like that. I mean, fair play to all the Saints fans. I think pretty much every Saints fan has stayed to the end as well. You know, fair play. I say really good support. At 1-0, 2-0, we tried to get behind them, but it just wasn't there, was it? And it was. I mean, second half we only lost 1-0, so that's a positive. But as you say, that first half, we were pretty much overrun, weren't we, Dave? I mean, over the whole game, we had one shot on target, and it was a pretty speculative turn and strike from Shaun, and that was it really. First half, maybe a couple of bright spots, but looking at the highlights back from Tuesday, you can say overrun because the defending for the goals, it is literally just being overrun by a team. And we have to mention they did have a break on Saturday. They didn't play, but if the Saints are tired, Ian's got to have the players to mix it up with in the squad, which again, possibly talking about his comments there. But we were just overrun, weren't we? And, you know, their first 4 goals, pretty much their first 4 or 5 shots on target. But those goals came about because of mistakes and errors. And there wasn't any fight from the Saints players. I don't think you can say at all on Tuesday. I don't know if I'm being harsh, Dave, but there was no fight. And I think that was really disappointing because all those Saints fans made the trip. And it's just wasn't what even put in 10% of the effort that we did on Saturday. And I think it would have been a lot better than it was on Tuesday.
I don't think you've been too harsh though, mate, because, sorry, Taz, I don't think you've been harsh, mate, because Goddard said himself the performance was unacceptable, you know, so it's all, the thing is, they say an administration is only as good as the people running it. So this is going to give you an idea now about how serious the club are about strengthening a side, because I hope to God it's just a bad day at the office and we bounce back again against Braintree on Saturday. But that said, you know, 5-0 is 5-0 and the eyes don't lie. And if it's come across, I just hope it's not detrimental to our performances going forward, because 5-0 in anyone's book, that's a hammering. And to be honest with you, mate, we were lucky to get 0.
Yeah.
From what we've seen of Braintree in our 2 previous games, if we don't beat them, we have got problems. But of course, we have already failed once to beat them.
No, yeah. But that's the thing, isn't it? Again, going into Tuesday night, Dave, you mentioned it right at the start there. You know, you're a couple of points behind. You've got games in hand. This is a real opportunity. It is a big game to really push into that fight for the top 7 and being in amongst it. And if you can't be getting up for that, and even if you're knackered, if you can't be getting up for it, then when are you going to get up for it? Because the big games this season, apart from 1 or 2, you know, Maidstone, decent draw, etc., those games that we've really wanted to get up for, the likes of Hemel, etc., and apart from Forest Green, of course, we just haven't done it in the league, have we, recently? We just haven't done it at all. And yeah, it was just, it just didn't feel real, to be honest. Like, after the performance on Saturday, I was really positive just because we battled well and fought for it. And that's why Tuesday was just so surreal to be 4-0 down after, 35, 40 minutes. And yeah, it just, one supporter commented to me that, you know, it's the first time he's sort of seen a real drubbing away from home for the Saints in a long time. He said, it just doesn't, it's just not enjoyable at all, is it? It's just, you go all the way down to Kent and you suffer that. What more do you want to be doing on a Tuesday night?
Tavs, is it a case of it was just a bad day at the office and those sorts of results do come up occasionally? Or are we seeing genuine creaks and cracks happening and that sort of result was always going to be inevitable somewhere along the line, given our performances over the last 2 or 3 months?
This has been coming for a long time. And if we carry on with this team, I don't want to be wrong, but it could happen again. The reason I say it, you look at our performances, how many games have we been on the back foot for in the last couple of months? Pretty much most of them. And we got away with it most times. We didn't get away with it against Hemel, didn't get away with it against Chippenham, and we got well and truly done on Tuesday. Ian named an unchanged side from Saturday, first time he's done that this season, and it was justified. But you wouldn't have known it was the same team out there at all. Why it changed so much, I don't know. It can't be fatigue. I'm not going to go along with that one at all. The mindset was wrong, and I think, as I said there, Lee, in response to you, we could see this happening again, heavy defeats, because we do spend so much of the time trying to defend. We don't attack sides, which is our strength.
Yeah.
And we saw it at Havant for about 5 minutes after we got the goal. We actually went on the front foot, and hello, there's more goals coming here. But
Yeah,
shortly it was just, it didn't last long.
It was interesting because I was chatting to someone and they said to me, out of the two games, the Havant game and the Ebbsfleet game, it was more the Ebbsfleet game they were probably sort of earmarking to get 3 points from, as opposed to Havant. You know, maybe the trickier, I mean, I don't agree with that, but it's interesting. Would you have taken 3 points out of those two games prior to last week? Possibly. I'd have liked 4. But, you know, it's this league, this season, this bloody team, it's so unpredictable, isn't it? So let's park it and look forward to Saturday, because if we keep dwelling on that, then it's not going to do us any favours at all, boys, is it?
Right, you say about the league. The clubs we played are currently in the top 11. We played 10 games against them. We've won 1, drawn 2, lost 7. Against sides in the bottom 10, we played 12 games, won 10, drawn 2, lost 0. Cool. Now, with that abysmal record against top 10 sides, we've got no right to think of ourselves as a playoff challengers. We've got to carry on beating the bottom sides and try and nick some top results. Otherwise, we're not going to get in those playoffs, are we?
No.
But the side is not strong enough, and that stat backs it up.
Such a contrast, isn't it, boys? Such a contrast. I mean, that's just bizarre how that happens, because we've actually performed well against some of the top sides. Yeah, but we've fallen short. And we can put that down to a number of factors. However, we're going to have to start beating some top sides if we're generally going to be classing ourselves as contenders. We can't just sit going, oh, well, we win one, we lose one. That's football. You know, yeah, but football is about progressing as a team and having some sort of success. You know, success isn't gauged by social media likes or whether you win a few games and you're happy to put along in mid-table. Success is actually having some sort of success, and playoffs would be a success at this position in time. So let's try and aim for that. And Saturday gives us the perfect platform for us to sort of try and kick on and get another win.
Yeah, I mean, you asked, you know, would you take 3 points from the last 2 games? Yes, beforehand, if it didn't include the manner of defeat that was Tuesday night. That is that. But, you know, you talk about the league, like the top 7-10 this season. Is it much stronger than previous seasons? One at the top 1 or 2 might be strong, but apart from that, is the rest of the division much stronger this season than previous seasons? I wouldn't say so, based upon the football we've seen. And I think that's the annoying thing to me, and I'm sure a lot of supporters, and I'm sure there'll be some supporters that do disagree with us and think we are overreacting to Tuesday night. It's just one result. But the league this season, a top 7 finish is there for the taking for the Saints this season. It is there. Get yourself into the playoffs, and you never know what will happen. We've had great runs in the cup and the trophy. You forget about how the trophy finished, because again, that was another performance like Tuesday night, frankly. You know, and again, that's the worry, isn't it? It's not like this is the first time this season, but top 7 finish is well within our grasp if we just apply ourselves and pick up some good wins. As you say, even just some draws against the top 7 or 10. But I think that'll be what annoys Saints fans is you're going to chuck it away if you keep going on like this, and you're going to lose what has been a very good attacking 4, because are they all going to stay this season or next season? Unlikely. And it's just such a wasted opportunity if we do not go for it and get a top 7 finish. That is what it is.
A lot of people have speculated about it, Jake. You two will have had discussions as well. Does the club want promotion? Because the signings, they're just not happening. And it's been known for months we've needed to strengthen that squad, and it hasn't happened. It would suggest that the club doesn't want promotion, is going to wait until it gets a new ground, if it ever gets one, which could be some years in the distance. Or are we unable to attract players now?
I think it's going to get harder after these results. But that said, there's so many facets that need to happen in order to get a player over the line. You know, the owner's got to have a say. The manager's got to identify. Dean Austin's out scouting players. The player's going to want to come. Players got agents now. It's going to all be about money. Of course it is. His position in the side. There's so many facets that have to fall in place in order to get a player. But it's not as though we're trying to, you know, sign a 10, 20,000 pound player from football league. We need bodies in who are going to fit into the system that Ian's devised. But that said, to say that does the club want promotion? If they don't, then why are they here? Ultimately, because if you don't want something to succeed and progress and develop, then what's the point? Is it a plaything? Is it a vanity project? Is it a genuine desire to better the football club? You know, I hope to sort of think the latter, but you're in a position now where Ian's tenure has, you know, we all talk about ifs and buts. He needs to have some sort of success, because at the minute, it's so frustrating to see a very talented squad and a very capable manager, and it's just not clicking because we're getting one good result by 2 or 3 bad ones. And it's looking badly on him, and it shouldn't do, because he's not the one crossing that line to play the games. But, you know, we do need some fresh injection of players just to sort of try and bring a bit of energy back into the side and kick us on. Dave, there's still lots and lots of football to be played, mate. But we're running out of time to get these bodies. Yeah,
we've said it all season that the side has need strengthening. It's not a reaction of a bad result now. I mean, all through the season, the weaknesses where we've needed strengthening has been pointed out. It doesn't look like happening. And we could be too far adrift by the time it happens in the end, which makes you wonder, well, did they really want it? Or are we not attractive? Havant, as we know, brought in 3 players at the weekend. Now, they won't have been cheap ones, looking at where they got them from, must admit. But Ian's got a pretty good record down the years of bringing players in, but it hasn't happened this season.
No, absolutely. I think part of the factor, is the academy stuff. I think the club definitely wants to use the academy a bit more to pad out the squad and bring players through and develop them. But on the counterpoint, why aren't we using our connections with the likes of Watford to bring in some young, hungry, you know, some more loanees, especially in midfield or the forward attacking positions? You know, think of Harry Forster, Lewis Gordon. You know, they came in the season we stayed up a couple of years ago because of COVID, but they did help turn the shift momentum-wise. And by the COVID outbreak, the Saints were out the bottom 2 and 3. So why can't we use that? What, you know, it is, as you say, I think there's definitely question marks as to whether, you know, do we want to really kick on? And I suspect money is a factor, because you know, everyone knows that the Saints got quite a windfall from the FA Cup, and I'm sure, you know, as Lee said, I'm sure there's agents asking for some silly figures. But Ian's got a lot of connections in the game, and surely he will be able to find a gem or two that can at least just help us for the rest of the season. I mean, I'm sure it'll be impossible to get this stat, but if you compare this season to previous seasons in terms of how many signings Ian makes within the season itself, I mean, we must be so much lower compared to how many he would normally make. So you have to ask why, don't you?
You know, it's funny you say that, Jake. I was going to look it up this afternoon, but I never got round to it. But we talk about players coming off the bench to change the game for us. Now, Zane Banton was named on the bench on Saturday in the lineup, but his name had gone by the time of kickoff. Presumably he failed the fitness test, whatever you want to call it. Anybody know what the problem is?
Nope.
Club hasn't said anything as useful as ever, giving out info.
Haven't heard anything. Hopefully he's all right though, because I think we really missed him. We really missed him. You know, the game a few weeks ago, Maidstone, he made such a difference. Even Slough played well, but when he's not in the team, and I mean, you've mentioned it a few times, both of you. If I think now, looking forward to Saturday's game, which we'll get on to, thinking back on Tuesday night, what changes will I make? Do I really want to see made to the team that could change it totally and give us a new emphasis? Honestly, looking at the bench at the minute, I'm really struggling to see who will want to bring in, especially if the likes of Zane Banton is injured.
Also, a couple of supporters mentioned Tuesday. I know you highlighted Cameron Green had a good game on Saturday, Jake. 2 supporters said after Tuesday's game, was he really an improvement on Alex Lancashire?
I mean,
that's not to put Alex down, by the way, because he's had a good season.
No, I think I don't know. I think when watching Tuesday's game back again, I didn't see him make any huge errors. But as you say, bringing Lancashire into the team, would he actually have changed anything on Tuesday night there either? So if you bring him on Saturday, you know, will he make a huge difference? I suppose the only thing with Cameron Green is he does look to get forward a bit more. But yeah, you know,
the thing is, though, fellas, when the ball is coming back at the frequency and the velocity is what it was against Ebbsfleet, no one really stood out. And, you know, you could have had Buddy Paolo and Maldini in there and he would have struggled at some point, because ultimately it is a team game. And if the ball is coming back quicker, you've got to be looking at why the people further up the pitch not defending. Why is it coming back so quickly? I think we need to park the Ebbsfleet game, because dwelling on that is going to do us no favours. In terms of the defence, Green is a good player. Let's not muck around. He's a good player. He's highly thought of, and he will be a Football League player ultimately. I think he adds to the side. Honestly, do. I think he's quite dynamic, and I think if push comes to shove, he could be pushed up a little bit further up the pitch, maybe. But again, getting back to what you said, Jake, I don't believe our relationship with Watford is as fruitful or as strong as what it has been in previous years. But ultimately, you know, some will sort of look at us and say, right, well, look at Havant. That is a prime example of, you can get all these good players in as much as you like, but there's no guarantee for success. But at no point are we asking to have 11 former Football League players. We just want one or two really good players that are going to develop it in our system and take us forward. Because at the minute, if you're not going forward, then you're going backwards.
But a little while ago, Lee, you asked me then if I can see more results like Tuesday coming with this present squad, and I think we can, with the way recent games have gone. Do you two see it like that, or are you a bit more optimistic?
I'm putting it down to a bad day at the office. You know, it's not the first time we've gone to Ebbsfleet and got spanked. Not 5-0, granted, but they've outplayed us on more than often than not. But I still am I'm positive in so much that we've got some good players. Yeah. But at the minute, they're not all playing well together. At the same, you know, one or two will have a good game, and then another two will have a good game. There's no unity there at the minute. I don't think we're playing to our strengths. I do believe, I know you're going to hate this, Taz, but I do believe we look tired. Some of the players look leggy. Some of the players' attitude maybe isn't what it should be. But then again, fresh injection, some new faces, some new attitudes, some new application, and who knows, it could kick us on. I'm positive, but I'd like to see some new players come in.
You're right, Lee. We've got a pretty dismal record against them. Two of the best days down there. In 72, we went there in the FA Cup, drew 1-1. Bill Ratty scored, and I think Bernie Bremer scored in the replay. We won 1-0. And some more supporters remember 1980, in first round of the FA Cup, 2 penalties by Ian Whitehead, gave us a 2-1 win. Then we had the Torquay games. But in recent years, God, it's been dismal, hasn't it?
It has. Yeah, I mean, I am positive as well, even though it may not.
Don't look it, mate. I have to say.
Well, no, I am. My only concern is thinking forward to, you got Saturday, but then you got Tuesday again, another tricky away game in deepest, darkest Essex down at Concord, and that's where my concerns again over the squad depth and the legginess, and especially that midfield. I'd love to hear off the record from the defenders from Tuesday night to think whether they received enough shielding at all from midfield, central midfield, any protection. I think if you spoke to the defenders honestly in a minute, I suspect they would probably say, of course, we are playing bad. But I think they'd possibly suggest that midfield as well is not giving enough protection to them. And when I think
area of need though, Jake, isn't it, mate?
Exactly. And if you think about again, you know, Saturday to Tuesday now, we know that Kyan Wiltshire is probably going to play both games if he's fit, and one other potentially both games. And it's just, again, it's that tight turnaround, trips away, isn't it? It's difficult, and it does make you worry. But overall, we have had a good season. We've got a lot of football to come, and this Saints squad have proved that they can get good results. So you win Saturday, and suddenly things are looking a bit rosy again. As you say, I think we need to park Tuesday's defeat, but not totally forget about it. We don't want everyone to, you know, win Saturday 3-4-0 and think everything's fixed. It's obviously not, but hopefully the lads can bounce back on Saturday. And, you know, we're all going to be there supporting them. Whatever, you know, at the final whistle, the lads came over and clapped the Saints fans. But, you know, we'll be there supporting them again, despite the result on Tuesday, because
this is how positive I am, Jake, mate. I'm bringing my little girl on Saturday.
Oh, no.
Yes, absolutely. But look, we're going to win Saturday, get stuffed on Tuesday, and I'll see you back here next Thursday for the next round of this conversation, because at the minute, that's where we are as a club.
So does that mean you're sending her for like the beer duty at half time, sort of, so you don't have to do the shuttle run?
I'm going to get a little hat with like a tray on it and just sort of send her.
That fifth goal we conceded on Tuesday was a 300th league goal we've conceded under Ian. Looking at these two games, Braintree and Concord. Concord are as much out of form as Braintree are, and Braintree have only won 1 in 10. So you would like to see that. You'd be surprised that 300 figure were to increase by more than 1 or 2 from these two games. These two games are an ideal opportunity for us really to get back. I don't see us getting thrashed next Tuesday unless the mindset is wrong. We've really got to take advantage of these two games. Again, two sides in the bottom half of the table and keep that run going.
You've got to really get 4 points at a minimum from these two, haven't you? Really. I mean,
you've got to look for 6, Jake.
I know, but just avoid defeat in these two games. I think 4 points, 1 win, and Tuesday night maybe a draw. I mean, you have really got to go for 6 points, especially after Tuesday night and bounce back. But yeah, I think it's a great opportunity, isn't it? It's the games you want after getting absolutely thumped on a Tuesday night. You want to be back at home at Clarence Park, in front of a decent crowd, hopefully, and yeah, just go for it, lads.
We want to be the ones doing the thumping, don't we? So it's know.
Well, it's been a while since we have really, isn't it? It's been a long.
Let's start on Saturday.
But when did we last score more than 1 goal in a game?
Probably Welling, wasn't it? I'd imagine.
Yes, I suppose it's going on for a month now, isn't it? About that. Oh,
but getting back to Braintree, although they've only won once in 10, it's another way of looking at their record. They beat Hampton 4-2 because everybody's beating Hampton nowadays. And since then, they've had 4 successive draws. So they're actually unbeaten in 5, if you want to go that way around it. But they're just not winning still.
I disrespected them when we had them in the trophy because I thought they were there for the absolute taking, and they were a much better side on the day.
Oh,
I don't agree. They defended all the way through, Lee, but they defended really well.
But that's what. But they were good value for it, and I think their application was more than ours, if I'm honest. But that said, they're there for the taking. They're down the languishing ends of the league, and I expect now to us come out all guns blazing on Saturday. Ian can't be doing with that sort of performance, two sort of games on the spin. So you've got to be looking.
I wonder what sort of side he put out, because obviously Zane we don't know. Tom Bender went off in the last minute, looking pretty bad on Tuesday, and he's going to have to make changes anyway.
Options are limited, aren't they? Really? I mean, it's going to get to the situation soon where the team's going to pick itself, isn't it? So
yeah, I mean, you talk about change, Dave. I suspect we'll probably see Hugh Dawson brought back in. Aside from that, what else can you change really? Liam Soul maybe, but going forward, is that the real issue? Not for me. It's defensive midfield areas, and I don't know what you change particularly. Will he chuck in Joy McKenna potentially for Bender? That is at least one like-for-like change you can make from the bench, isn't it? But otherwise, what more can you do? And Braintree, they're no mugs, like you say, Lee. They did well in the trophy against us, and they're fighting for their lives. They're bottom of the table. They'll go down as it stands, but win on Saturday, and they make it a lot tighter at the bottom. So they're going to be fighting. They're going to be scrapping. It might not be the prettiest game on Saturday, but that will depend on if the Saints. And Dave, you touched upon this in recent games. Even Slough, to some extent, the Saints haven't really controlled games, have they? They've let other sides sort of have a lot of the ball, even when we're winning. I'd like to see the Saints on Saturday at Clarence Park take control of the game, control the ball, play it about a bit, and get back to a bit of that football that was working so well, before Christmas. But then on the flip side, I mean, Ian's, I think, was it an interview with Neil that Hearts had, talked about how the pitch at Clarence Park isn't really suiting the Saints at the minute, being quite dry and not enjoyable to play football on. So Ian might think, let's just play it safe and be a bit more direct.
It's been bobbly for years, Clarence Park. It's a long time since it was immaculate. It looks nice, but it's a very bobbly pitch, and Ian's been aware of that all the time he's been there.
Yeah.
Liam Soul you touched on, to me, look at him, that is a perfect footballer. He has been our biggest disappointment this season by a country mile. And he came on Tuesday. First thing he did, went to control it, and the ball went flying under his foot or whatever. We've seen it plenty of times before. There's a footballer in there. There's a good footballer in there. Come on, Liam, show it. You've got to stand up now because you're not producing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, he might feel like he needs a bit more love for me and potentially a bit more football, which I think, potentially. Yeah. But Ian could chuck him in on Saturday, and it would be a decent opportunity, wouldn't it, against the Braintree side that have drawn a few games recently, but they're still going to be there, fragile. Go against them. I'd just like to see Liam actually run at some defenders and take them on. That would be nice. So hopefully he can. But again, it comes back to that question of, what can we actually change to this side at the minute with the players we've got? It's very difficult.
And if you change it, it doesn't change our style at all. Is there a case for Nobby, if his groin is up to it, putting him out there? Because we've not got a proper playmaker in midfield.
You're right, but when did he last play? How match fit is he going to be? Is he any sort of fit?
He was still only 39 last time he played. I mean, he's 40 now, isn't he?
Right, let's get some predictions in, boys, because this is we can sort of go on for ages, but I'm going to go for a cheeky 3-1 win on Saturday.
Oh, I was thinking similar actually. I'll say 2-0 Saints.
On Tuesday,
1-0 City.
I'll go 2-1 Saints.
I think you're right to be positive. If our attitude is right, we can turn this around again.
Exactly.
So I don't think we need to panic yet, but we just need to get the attitude right.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Jake, Chelmsford game, you predicted a 1-1 draw. Well done. So everything went right that night. It was a good night, wasn't
it? Are you sort of planning on driving down to deepest, darkest Essex, Tavs? Because you've got history down there, haven't you, mate? So
funny, nobody wants to come with me when we go near Essex, Lee. I don't know why.
Right.
But yeah, let's end on a positive note. Forget about Tuesday, go into Saturday. Come on, boys. Let's actually just win, please.
We are positive. We are always positive. Sometimes we can be a bit drab, but you're only as good as your last game, fellas, and that one was an absolute shocker. So
exactly.
Well, that's it, Lee. As you know, I'm not that bothered whether we win or lose. I want to see a decent game of football, and Tuesday was not a competitive game of football. There's only one side out there.
So we asked Tavs, be competitive, apply yourself, and don't just think, oh, sod it, here we go, sort of 2-0 down. Have a little bit of fight and desire, and who knows where we could be.
Exactly. But, Saturday, we'll be all there getting behind them. All the other Saints fans will forget about Tuesday. And, the players have got to do the job now, and hopefully they will. And on that delightful note, you can tweet us at a Podful of Saints if you want. I don't know why you would. And you can
come and talk to us on Saturday. Come and talk to us.
Yeah.
But no expletives, because I'll have my daughter. So, yeah. Although, to be fair, she probably knows more expletives than you do, Jake. So
absolutely. I hope you're bringing her to the pub, by the way.
Yeah. It's her round first, mate.
And you can email us as well. That'll be on the screen and in the descriptions below. So I think it's thank you very much and goodbye for now from us, isn't it?
Yes, we'll see you next week when we discuss these marvellous 6 points.
Yay! Bye-bye, everyone.